game, we really ain't playing. We regroup up in the Slack chat where the coaches debrief. We be piecing these puzzles, occupy the chunk of the pie. Ain't no lie when we hit the block, helmet's casket is top. You be seeing helmet after helmet, helmet after helmet. First place, second place, fifth place, eighth place, 12th place, 15, 16, 20. So many helmets, you got blurred vision, we got too many. Tick your tech. Oh man, shit. They got us fucked up. Army, recruit. We pledge always to have that edge. We don't fire warning shots. Competition just dropped. We locked and loaded before lock. Whatever the time, yeah. Do you even correlate?
Being the best requires a willingness to outwork your competition. There's always someone smarter, faster, sharper, more naturally gifted to come around.
What up, everybody? Welcome to another Unplayable Lies PGA pod, and we are here a little bit early. It's a Thursday night, and because we are getting ready for the Masters. I mean, it's not very for me. I mean, it's snowing outside right now. Usually in April, it's snowing. I live in the tundra of northern Minnesota, but so it feels a little bit normal to me. But it's gonna play. I mean, it's hard. We're gonna look at the weather here. We'll talk about it. But this is our first look pod, taking a little look at the field, kind of where I'm going right now with my early inklings, and then taking a look over at majorschallenge.com, our sponsor, to talk about our Unplayable Lies, a listener league. For the Masters, because we got some awesome prizes up for the winner of that. And yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. Like I said, I am looking forward to it. We got a great tournament going on in Houston right now. And now we're going to be, heading to the Masters for the big one, the last major of the year before we get kind of a little bit of a break here until almost January. There's some tournaments, obviously, but nothing really big here until we get back cracking in the 2021 season with the Sony Open. So this is really the culmination, for me anyways, of the year, and I am super excited about it. So let us take a look at what we got going on over at majorschallenge.com. So I'll show you how that site works at the end of this pod, but we do have a listener league. I'll have a link in the bio here as well. But the winner of the listener league over at majorschallenge.com for next week's Masters tournament is not only going to get a free month at Sportsbet Army, and those guys are crushing it, but I will personally be sending you a copy of PGA Tour 2K21 for PS4, Xbox. If you PC game, send it to you on Steam. But yeah, you will get a copy of 2K21, and believe me, it is addictive and a ton of fun. Like, it gets in the way of me getting some of my sheets up for NFL and PGA because I'm playing it too much. So again, that's for the winner of the listener league over at majorschallenge.com, one of our sponsors here, and a site that I just love to play in. And I'm excited for the Masters next week, right? The Masters is, everybody has, everybody that I know anyways has, pools with their buddies, things like that. And now we've moved all of our pools over to majorschallenge.com. They score for you. It's such a simple way to play. Like, I love playing over there, so big fan of it. But let's get to the tournament, right? The Masters. There's nothing you really need to know. There really isn't. Like, they've been playing here for 100 years. We know what the course is. You got big, wide fairways. There's tons of elevation that it's hard to see on TV. It's going to be long, 7.4, 7.5. It's going to play a lot longer than 74, 75. It's going to have, firm, hard fairways. Rough's not going to be that long. Average size greens. The second, like I said, I shouldn't say rough, right? We don't call it rough in Augusta. We call it second cut, which drives me bonkers. Big sand bunkers, a bunch of water hazards that do come into play. And yeah, it's Augusta. We know it's a big boy course, and typically, we're going to see the best of the best here. Maybe the one defining thing about Augusta is the greens. All right. And it seems that over time, what we've seen is that new players to Augusta have really struggled to adjust to not only the pace, but how these greens break. So guys in their debut typically struggle a little bit here. So that's something to keep in mind as you're building lineups this week. Maybe, you want to go with the vets, right? And you see guys like Freddie Couples, who've been playing here for 40 years, still come out, and Bernhard Langer, and still come out and make cuts and contend. So it is it's a big boy course. You got to hit fairways, you got to hit greens, and you got to get a little bit lucky. So I really do think that, local knowledge playing here before is going to be a big factor this year. And we talk about, we're playing here in the spring, right? What's the weather going to be like? And right now we're about a week out, right? It looks pretty similar to kind of what it looks like during April, maybe a little bit warmer even. So Thursday right now, slight chance of rain in the morning, but we're looking at 72, 79, 84 in the afternoon. Thursday or Friday, kind of similar story. There's some chances of rain overnight Friday, but a little bit cooler on Saturday, and same thing Sunday. I don't think it's going to play that much different, especially with the sub-air systems that they have in these greens and the fairways. They can suck the water out in a second. They can dry it out. They can firm it up. It's going to be, I think it's going to be pretty similar. It's going to look different on TV just because of the colors, but for the most part, I'm not expecting this to play vastly different than what we've seen in years past. I think looking at originally, you're like, oh, this is going to be like when Zach Johnson won. It's going to be cold. It's going to be wet. It's going to be windy. And it looks pretty good. So I'm not super concerned. Wanted to talk about the breakdown here of the holes right quick. So we get 4 long par 3s. All these par 3s are what we would consider long. So over 190 yards, right around 200 yards for a lot of these par 3s. 2 short par 4s, 4 medium par 4s, 4 long par 4s. That medium and long par 4 category is what we tend to see. Guys who really do well here are very good in those categories. 2 short par 5s and 2 long par 5s, that is where you need to make a move. And we've, if you've watched the Masters before, scoring on those par 5s is huge. And we can see the tournament turn on those par 5s. So finding guys who can score on par 5s is a really big deal. Like I said, the weather, I'm not really concerned. It's gonna be what it is. So I'm gonna talk about my early look at my 4 balls here. Who 4 plays, 4 fades, and 4 punts. So my favorite play from each salary range: 10K, 9K, 8K, 7K. My favorite fades from each salary range: 10K, 9K, 8K, 7K. My 4 favorite punts priced 7K or below. And typically, we get such soft pricing in the Masters that you don't need to go down below 7K. But this week, they priced it up a little bit better, and below 7K is terrible. It is really, really hard to build, and it's going to be really, really hard for us to build over on Majors Challenge. That Group 4 is going to be tricky. So let's get into it. My favorite plays above 10K. And there's a bunch of good options here this week. Obviously, when you're talking about a player, a fade above 10K, it really comes down to ownership, because all of these guys look great. Maybe the one guy that doesn't necessarily fit the mold for Augusta might be a guy like JT. But for me, it's always going to be almost an ownership play. These guys are the best players in the world. They can contend anywhere. So I really do, early right now, my initial reaction is that it's Rams time. All right. I really think he's going to win a Masters. It feels like Augusta is perfect for his game. He's so long. He's an elite iron player. His short game's great. He can putt the lights out when he's hot. He's consistently gotten better here over the years. So it just feels like things are kind of trending in that direction for Ram. So I really like Ram. I like where he's priced. I think that he's going to come in a little bit under owned. And the guy that's going to come in super high owned, unless he just bombs this week. Right now he's +2 as of me recording this video in round 1. But unless he bombs, the ownership might go down. But at 10K even, DJ is going to be mega chalk. I almost hope he just plays like kind of mediocre all week. So guys are like, oh, there's something there. It's not like he's bad. He wasn't ready. It was the Houston Open. And then I can fade him at 25-30% owned. That's my goal. Again, it's not he's playing poorly. Like, it's DJ, man. Like, the guy can show up and win by 12 strokes. That's just what he does. But for me, if I can get leverage on the field by fading a 25-30% owned guy, I'm going to do that every time. As we go to the 9K range, my favorite play here is going to be Webb Simpson. And We haven't really heard from Webb in the last couple of months here. I want to say it's been a while. It's been a while since we've actually seen Webb play, and we'll actually look here at the initial DFS Army research station in a second. But Webb has really consistently improved at Augusta over the years. He's one of those guys that it's taken him a little while to figure out how to play here, and that's culminated in a 5th place finish last year. Over the last couple of years, Webb's played the best golf of his career, so I think he's going to be a little sneaky here. He's not super long, but he finds fairways. He's good with his long irons, and what's really been holding him back lately is the putter. So that's my one concern. Traditionally a very good putter. Maybe he's worked some kinks out in the last couple of weeks here when he hasn't been playing. So I'm pretty high on Webb Simpson. But the fate, and I think that he's actually probably going to come in low owned, but Tyrrell Hatton with 2 R's, I always spell it wrong. He's really struggled in his 3 trips to Augusta. I don't really expect him to figure out these greens on his 4th trip. And this is a guy that, he runs so hot emotionally that if he doesn't figure out these greens, he's dead. It's very similar to Sergio, right? Struggled at Augusta, finally, calmed down, figured it out. He won. That could be the case for Hatton at some point in his career here. But right now it's a no for me. I wrote in there that if he's low owned, I may end up changing this opinion, right? And that's something that our DFS Army subscribers and our VIPs there can have access to those, thoughts, right? So it might be on Wednesday. I'm looking at ownership and going, man, at 4% Hatton owned, I can get 3x the field at 12%. That's a play that we need to push the chips in. And we did that at the US Open, right? With Bryson DeChambeau, we thought, I kept coming back to it and going, it doesn't feel right. He's not a course fit, but at that sort of skill set doesn't matter the course, right? At that ownership, you got to make a leverage play there. And we did, and it paid off for a lot of our subscribers. So, that's something that you're not going to get here in the free pod, but you become a DFS Army VIP, you can get access to that. Use that code up north, you get 20% off. Speaking of being a DFS Army VIP, I want to take a look at our initial research station. So it's going to bring me to here, but I gotta. There we go. Okay, so our early Masters research station. So this is something that our DFS Army VIPs have access to every single week. They get all this information aggregated for them all in one simple spreadsheet that they can sort, that they can look through, and get all the information that they need in one spot. You're not having to type in a guy's name. It's everything is right there for you, and you can see. Initially we have these odds here, update live. So, they're an aggregate of 8 different books. If the odds are changing, right, you can see that, Webb Simpson has gotten bet down from, he opened at 29 to 1, now on an average of 28 to 1 or 28 to 1. That shows you that there's a drift of 2%. A positive drift means that money's coming in. A negative drift means that those odds are actually dropping. So like Tiger, seeing a 6% drop so far. Adam Scott's seen some money come in. He's moving up 4%. So all of that. But I wanted to look at course history here. So we talk a little bit. Some people don't believe in course history, and I don't necessarily believe in it in a lot of places. But the one place that I will always talk about course history is Augusta. We talked a little bit about Ram, right? So Ram, 27th, 4th, 9th, right? Starting to figure it out. Another guy that's, I said I was thinking about maybe fading him here, but another guy that's really kind of figuring it out over his career is JT, right? Continuous improvement there. Brooks, 21, 11, 2, right? Not looking great right now. There's that Hatton, right? I talked 91, 44, 56. Just not really getting any better. But you look at Webb, right? 44, 62, 52, 28, 29. Had a bad year, 20, and now 5. Webb's been, we did see Webb at the Zozo. Been playing okay. It was let's take a look at Webb here, right? And talk about some of these stat categories. I'll scroll up so he's towards the top here. We got the made cut percentage, driving distance, driving accuracy. Everything's recent and long term. Birdies are better gained, fantasy points gained. Look at that. Webb's gaining a ton of fantasy points lately because the guy can score. Here's a number I really like: double bogey or worse percentage. Webb just doesn't make big numbers, and that helps him make cuts all the time. His elite field percentage. So we take and look at all the elite fields that he's played in over his last 50 rounds. What percentage of the field does he beat on average? And he's at 81%. There's only a couple of guys, right? Like Brooks 88, Rory 82, 86, JT 82, Bryson only 61, right? And you combine that with him being a great par 75 player, it just makes too much sense. Makes too much sense for Webb, right? Approach coming back a little bit around the greens, great, and that the putter has been pretty good, recently. So I'm real high on Webb here. But this is information that we get every single week for our VIPs. Everything in one spot. You can go by, we don't have some of this stuff filled in yet, but we have showdown tools that show how they score each round, fantasy scoring projections for the types of holes. All of this stuff will get filled in as the week goes on. We're early here, right? So again, what are you waiting for? There's other sites out there. They do a good job, but not only are you getting this, you're getting every single sport. There's our major challenge there. Well, let's just check quick how I am doing in the tournament right now. Robbie Hanley's taking her down. Oh, that was last week. He mentioned that, right? That's Bermuda. Where's my Houston Open live? There we go. Oh, Brian's in first. All right, I'm in seventh. I'm plus 10. I'm about 16 strokes back. I'm not doing terrible. Who's in last place? Matt Halverson. Come on, buddy. Let's go. Blake's up by me by one, little jerk. Man, I talked about not getting cute on last week's pod, and that DJ and Brooksy here +2. That's hurting me a little right now, but I think the cut tomorrow is going to be at +4. All right, back to the task at hand here. So use that early. You can use that early Masters research station and get access to all of that information if you come to DFS Army VIP. So back to, let's talk about the 8K range, because this is actually my favorite play in the entire tournament, and he will be a core play for me next week. I don't care if his ownership is through the roof. I am playing him here. I am so high on Bubba Watson next week. He's just freed himself of some of that anxiety and mental demons, and he's talked about it a lot. And he's just playing the best golf of his career. He crushes Augusta. I think at 8.7K on DraftKings, like, he's going to be fairly popular, but I don't care. I'm going to have I will be double the field on Bubba this week. I think he is going to smash. I think he is alive to win a third green jacket. I've got him at 50-1. That number is continually dropping as he continues to play well here. So I am so high on Bubba Watson. I started this looking at, kind of the Masters field and what I was going to talk about tonight. Earlier today, when Jordan Spieth was playing some great golf, and I just wrote in here, I will not play Jordan Spieth. 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 He then proceeded to just absolutely die on his second 9. But I still, the sentiment remains, I will not get talked into Spieth at Augusta. I will not get talked into Spieth at Augusta. So if you are playing me in head-to-head or in this Majors Challenge, you can play Spieth, because I will not do it. And I'm going to continue to remind myself that he is just not good enough off the tee to win at Augusta anymore. So that's my story on Jordan Spieth. As we get to the 7K range, right? This is where all of the value is going to be this week. And I've got a 7K play that is going to be very low owned, but I'm pretty high on, and it goes back to history at Augusta. I wrote in here, Kuchar needs a green jacket, man, because I want to play him when he's 60 and he's still making cuts and contending at min price. The guy just plays so well here. He is consistent and top 20 finish every year here. Like, there was a point where we were like, what are we, like, you just auto play Kuchar in majors because he's gonna top 20. So that form has gone a little bit lately. There's been some signs that it's coming back, and Augusta doesn't care about form. Augusta cares about history. And for me, that's a really hard thing to wrap my head around, because I'm so often just looking at the numbers and not necessarily the names or their course history at places. But I really just think it's true at Augusta. And I think that we're going to see Kuchar come in super low owned in the 7K range and be in the nuts. I really think he's going to be in the nuts this week. That's how confident I am in Kuchar's game and Kuchar's game at Augusta. My fade in the 7K range, I'm actually hopeful that he continues to play well this week, because Scotty Scheffler is super cheap and people are going to be all over him. Don't play rookies at Augusta if you can help it. Like there's spots where you have to play, guys who are there for their first time. But if you can help it, especially chalk rookies at Augusta. I love Scotty. I think this is a great course fit for him, but I think he's going to struggle here in his first time around. This is a guy that, in 2 years, maybe he's in good shape. I will say that there is a caveat to this. He's played pretty well in big time, positions, right? US Open, PGA, or not the US Open, he had COVID, but at the PGA, he was in contention, round one leader. But like, you just don't play guys who are chalking their Masters debut. So for me, that is a fade. All right. And I will be vastly underweight or not have any exposure to Scotty Scheffler this week. Below 7K. It's ugly. Capital U. It's not good. I had to grind to find 4 guys that I'm willing to put money on this week to play well. First guy is Adam Hadwin. He's played pretty well here in his 2 appearances. He had to push his wedding, actually. It was his wedding or his honeymoon. He got in because he won the Honda or the Valspar, got in, had to push his wedding, finished in the top 40, which was great, right? Like, went back the next year, finished top 30. So it seems like he's figured out these greens a little bit. That is the strength of his game. When he can putt, he's in good shape. So I think there's some high upside here at 6,900, and he's going to have no ownership. Harding is a guy that I was on last year at the Masters, really crushed in his debut. I think that the course is a great fit for him. He doesn't hit a ton of greens, but his short game is just so good around the green. So I'm high on Harding this week at Houston, and I'm going to continue to ride the train. I actually kind of hope he falls back a little bit and just kind of finishes middling 30, 40th, so that people don't jump on him at 6,700 here. Ty Dunks, T Dunks rates out really well for me. The guy's an elite iron player. He hits tons of fairways. Can't putt to save his life. It is his debut. But at 6,700, I am willing to take a few more chances, especially when he's looking at maybe 2% ownership as opposed to 20 plus. It's a lot easier to play a guy in his debut at Augusta at that sort of price. And finally, not only does he wear a sick hat now, and I hope he wears it at Augusta this week, but Charles Schwarzer, former winner here, and he's playing some of his best golf in his career. Not necessarily his career. He was pretty elite back in the day, but for the last couple of years, he's been terrible. Finally got out of PXG and is figuring out his game a little here. I'm super high on Charles this week at 6,900. Again, it comes back to that course history, and he's playing some good golf right now. So I hope he continues to play well this week at Houston. That'll give me a little bit of confidence in him going forward. So let's take a look now at majorschallenge.com for our listener league this week. Pretty excited about it. Again, we're giving away not only a free month at Sportsbet Army, but you're also going to get that copy from me of PGA 2K21. We can light it up against each other. I play on my computer, but I feel like it's a little bit easier to play there. All right, let's take a look here at majorschallenge.com. So we talked about the Houston Open. We already got 4 people into the Majors Challenge contest for the we haven't set up an Unplayable Lies. That'll open up here shortly. Once that opens, I will get you access to that. So again, if you never played on majorschallenge.com, how it works is you pick golfers from 4 different groups. All right. Group A is the top 10% of the official world golf ranking in the field. Group B is the next 10% or the next 20%. Group C is the next 30%, and Group D is the bottom of the bottom. All right. As you can see here, we got, there's some plays here. We can find some plays in Group D this week, especially because it's such a small field here at the Masters. So Group A, right? This is the top 10% in the field. You got to pick 3 golfers and 1 alternate. The scoring for Majors Challenge is all based on just regular golf scores. So if I pick Patrick Cantlay and he shoots -3, I go -3. But if I have Bryson DeChambeau and he shoots +5, we combine those. Now I'm at +2. All right. It's just aggregate scoring for all of your golfers. If somebody misses the cut, what happens then is that player gets the score of the last place person who makes the cut. So if the last place person who makes the cut shoots +25, that's your score. All right. So the goal here is that you need to get as many guys across the cut line as possible. And then you're just hoping for guys to go low on the weekend. Very, very similar to DraftKings or FanDuel or whatever site you play on. So Group A this week, we got Patrick Cantlay, DeChambeau, Hatton, DJ, Koepka, Rory, Morikawa, Ram, Reed, Schauffele, Webb, and JT. So for me, it's pretty easy here. I'm gonna go. Talked about how much I love Ram, right? Talked about how much I love Webb, and I don't think Webb's gonna be very high owned in this tier. I think that people will be off him, and then I'm gonna look for a guy to get rid of some. Well, it's between Rory and Bryson for me. It seems sacrilege to play Bryson here, but he spent the last month getting ready for Augusta. Like, there's nobody that's going to prep better than Bryson. So I'm pretty high on Bryson this week. I think that I'm going to go Bryson. He's the odds-on favorite right now to win. All right. As we go to Group B, we're looking at Abe Answer, Paul Casey, Tony Finau. Right? Tony Finau said they don't keep strokes gain stats at Augusta, but he had one of the best putting rounds in the history of Augusta. I'm going to click him early here. So I'm pretty high on Adam Scott. I think that he's going to be great here. And I need one more guy to fill this out. I love Kuchar, but I just don't. It's going to be in this group. It's really down to Kuch or Hideki. And I think for me, it's going to be Hideki Matsuyama. And I'll put Kuch in as my alternate. As we go to Group C, kind of crazy to see Ricky Fowler and Jason Day down here, right? Guys who have crushed over their careers, been, lots of top tens and majors, and way down here in Group C. Easy click, Bubba Watson, right? Love him in Group C. Look at that. T Wood's way down here too, but the guy's been playing terrible. There's no reason for him to be any higher. So I like Bubs. I like, this is hard. This is harder than Group D. I only have to pick two players in Group D. Man, this is a lot of guys that I am not playing in DFS. As gross as it is, I think you just. All right, Sergio's resurgent with the putter. I'll take Sergio instead of Ricky. And then I'll just go with local Aiken, South Carolina boy, Kevin Kisner. A lot of people will play Scotty Scheffler there again. I'm gonna be looking at fading that. I'll play Ricky as my alternate. Group D. All right, it's not as bad as I thought. All right, you could play guys like Hadwin and Harding, who I talked about, and I think that might end up being. I think Siwoo's interesting here. I think Molinari's really interesting in this group, right? Exercise some demons. Here, I could be talked into it. He's playing some good golf right now in Houston. If he continues it through the weekend, I'm going to be pretty high there. I think Sneds makes some sense way down here. Spieth, maybe. But for me, I'm just going to go a little bit contrarian here and go Harding. So my team right now would look, as of Thursday, the week before we tee off for the Masters, I'm looking at Ram, Webb, Bryson, Finau, Scott, Hideki, Bubba, Jason Day, Sergio, and Kiz, and then Molly and Harding. And that Molinari play is, again, I'm just looking to try to get some leverage on the field here because nobody's going to play it. All right. So that's where I'm at for majorschallenge.com. I will link this once the DFS Army Listener League is live. I will link it in the bottom here of the YouTube channel. I will also pump that out on Twitter talking about, hey, this is your chance to win a free copy of PGA 2K12. And it is, or 2K21, free to play, no entry fee. On majorschallenge.com, you can play with your friends for money. They don't do any of the banking for you, but you can set it up so it's so easy to be like, hey, you owe me 5 points, that's $5. You can send invoices or emails to your buddies and say, hey buddy, pay up or I'm gonna blast you on Twitter or Facebook or whatever. So it's a super great site to set up, majorschallenge.com. Check it out. And again, if you're looking for a DFS content provider, check us out at DFS Army. You can use the code UPNORTH for 20% off a VIP membership and come hang out with me and the Geek and and Keg and all the guys over there. All right. Cheers, everybody. Have a great weekend and be on the lookout for more content from DFS Army Masters related as we get into the week of the last major of the year here for the Masters.